Welcome to Breaking Eggs with Seth Shezi. Breaking Eggs is a visual podcast where Seth talks to creative entrepreneurs, designers, seekers, healers, and thought leaders. During these candid and insightful chats, Seth teases out some nuggets from his exceptional guests that are sure to inspire, entertain, and make you go, huh, when you hear their unique methods of pursuing fulfillment.
I am Seth Shezi. Join me every week as I crack open the lives and learnings of some very special guests. We'll be chatting about the 5 golden pillars of a good life: wellness, wealth, love, mindset, and impact. Through these unscripted chats, I'm looking to uncover untold stories, answer some of my own questions, and hopefully leave you with better ones to ask about your life. Today, my guest is award-winning milliner, entrepreneur, and stylist Crystal Birch. We talk about everything from creating your own niche to burnout, Xhosa traditions, and the value of following your gut. Let's break. So, Crystal.
Hello.
I last saw you a long time ago, which was 2 days ago.
Yes.
Where did we bump into each other?
At the skin renewal clinic.
Don't share our secrets.
I know. I didn't want us to reveal our faces should be a complete reveal, like a
like we're basically
surprise to everybody. Like, who are you guys?
We should just tell people we sleep a lot.
Sabbaticals.
Like, how's your skin so good? I just had extra hours of sleep.
Holiday.
Yeah, Hermanus. Are you going to Hermanus this
I'm
weekend?
going to Hermanus with my family.
Nice.
To read, light fires, and lay low.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to run away from winter. So now that we're starting winter, I'm going to London for 3 months.
Amazing. Not that that's the best summer place to run away to.
Not at all. The Crystal I see in front of me is the Crystal that I see every day, who's always hyper, energetic, full of love. Like, you hug everyone like in such a meaningful way. And it's so nice. And you wear your character in everything that you wear.
Thank you.
Like, who is Crystal?
I
inside?
am that energetic person. Yeah. I am a sloth at home. So I think externally I am very energetic. I've got a big team. I move fast. People always say I walk too fast. Sometimes I talk too fast and my words come out all jumbled. But when
That's a genius's curse. Like, geniuses are like
my
that.
brain and my head, and then I have amalgamated words, like my daughter just says sanitizer instead of hand sanitizer. Like, things become amalgamated in my brain.
Yeah. She's abridging. Maybe she's starting something.
I think so. And the other thing is that I do go through times where I completely go introvert and I have to preserve my energy. So there are days that I work from home, or that I completely hide from people when they walk in, or where I just lay low completely and just read or do nothing. I've only learned that recently. I've only learned the past, say, 2 or 3 years how to do absolutely nothing. I've never known how to not do that. I was always busy.
But how do you not deplete yourself? Because I think you give so much of your energy to everyone, and for me, when I see you, I always leave feeling pepped up, excited, with a smile on my face.
That.
And I just wonder, how do you then replenish yourself?
You learn by going through burnouts and completely getting to a point where you're completely depleted, burnt out, sick. And I didn't want to be at a time where I have to rest because I'm ill, or I want to have to rest because I'm depleted. I didn't want to get to that point. And I had to learn that that is a self-love thing. I had to stop myself and put those barriers up and prevent that and tell my team I'm not available. Where I was like, nothing can happen without me, and not a control freak. I just had to be present. And then I was like, nothing's going to happen if I'm not present. It's okay to put up the boundary, to give me some space. Otherwise, if I'm depleted, nothing else can happen. Of course. So it was about self-preservation, and I had to learn those tools. I didn't know how to. And when I learned how to, the world didn't cave in. I just felt better. I knew how to manage my time. I could think more clear. All the things that people tell you, the meditation, and to journal, and to take a step back, and to do things that are wholesome, take a break from alcohol, take a break from people. I've started doing that. And even if it's in small bits, because I have a toddler as well, and you're momming and you're working, and it's a lot of things, but there are times where you just have to go, This bath is my bath, no one else's bath. I'm going to lock the door. This book I'm going to read. I'm giving myself the time to, even if I just read a little bit of it. Yeah. So I think I had to start very, very small, and then it fills your cup.
Yeah.
Then to
so
go
you
out.
have to be conscious about it. You
conscious
have to
about
actually
it.
Just demand your own
And
time.
I used to not be able to know how to do that. I used to just go until I'm done.
Yeah.
And now I feel growing older, more sensible. Also, I don't have to engage with everybody.
Of course.
I feel I can read a room better, people's energy. I can feel an energy vampire coming closer, and I kind of know how to steer away from that without being,
offish. Yeah.
Offish
people,
or just avoiding it or being awkward.
But then on the other side, and some people would argue that you being on the go all the time has helped you achieve a lot in a very short space of time.
It has.
Yeah.
And I think the blissful, either there's two things. I don't know whether I'm blissfully unaware, super brave, or completely stupid. There were three things, because I said yes to everything. And if I didn't say yes to it, I would not have learned so hard, so fast, so intensely with this factory of 4 years ago when I moved in, a year and a half that I'm the owner. The things that I've learned legally, team-wise, HR, everything, international shipping, the huge world that it is. If I really knew all of this, I would not have done it. There's no way. No. Saying just yes to it was actually I got a degree in factory life.
Yeah, it's a whole MBA.
That was wild. And if you did study it, you would have never done the practical like
Of course not, no.
So I think that's the biggest, and Harry allowed me to also just do what I needed to do.
Yeah.
So I could make those mistakes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But then I want to go back just to the start. So you started as a design student and you were going to do either fashion and by the end of it you wanted to do either shoes or hats. Like, walk me through that decision.
The design process was loving clothes, always loving it, but loving clothes, loving design and living it and playing it. I was a serious thrifter in high school.
Amazing.
And even primary school. We lived next door to a hospice, and it's always been a fascination for me. But I was so phobic of going to the same studio every day.
Okay.
So I had to go to the same studio. I just saw designers like Stian Lowe, Maya Pras, Gavin Raja, and they all had ateliers, and they went to the same place. Admired them, loved what they did.
Yeah.
But they went to the same place. And I was like, I can't do the same thing every day. I need to play.
Yeah.
And that's when styling came in, because then I could move and you can shoot any place. And every time my client is different, my location is different.
Yes.
But I knew I wanted to be a specialist. So it's not just clothes. And it pointed towards the head. I became the stylist that, okay, so you've put stuff on the head. Can you make something special for this cover? Maybe you can create something for this character.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would have to, when I went to London, let's specialize in millinery. I'm in London. If I'm in Italy, France or London, study hats or shoes, Italy shoes. But yes. And so then it naturally progressed to the headspace and and I've loved hats since I was young. So
what
always
was
loved
that fascination with putting things on?
There was one hat I wore for 6 days that I refused to take off. So I think maybe it's because your persona changes. I think it maybe it changes people's way. When people put on a hat in our shop as well, people speak in accents, people tell me how they feel all of a sudden. It does have something to do about how you feel.
Yeah.
And I think it's a fun accessory that people can play with. That's not always serious. It can be very serious, like wearing one to a funeral.
Yeah.
It can be amazing to a party.
Yeah,
and it can just be an assertive dresser that's the dot on the I, like Stephen Jones says.
Yeah, I love that. So when you said at the Met Gala this year with Gilded, glamour, and not that many people wore hats.
Not so many, surprisingly.
I know, which is surprising because the Gilded era.
I was waiting for the Porter moment of Peter Porter moment, and there wasn't. That is quite. I did find that quite fascinating. Like there was not so many headwear that's really out there or something that changed or wowed. And I think maybe I don't think people are playing enough. Maybe it's the theme or But
maybe
headwear people are headwear people. So
potentially too complicated, maybe for people to, or too wide, because the interpretation I think was
maybe
a bit off. But anyway, Met Gala aside. So then you, about 4 years ago, started your own factory. Well, you joined.
I moved into Parisian Milliners.
Yes.
So this factory was established in 1936.
Yes.
Previous owner was Harry Factor. And I wanted to work there since I studied.
Wow.
I first visited the factory, I think 2006, and I just fell in love with it. Wanted to intern. They said, no, interns are coming to steal ideas. And I wanted to buy from them. And then until the one buyer told me, just buy wholesale. And then you're in. And so 4 years ago, I saw Harry and I moved in. And I said, I really want to work here. And I really want to take over this factory. And it's been a year and a bit, last year, October, that I became the owner. And I learned so much because it was so big, and then COVID striked, and a massive team went smaller. Everything from 1,200 square meters went to 600, from 40 plus staff to 15, everything.
That's drastic.
So instead of like when companies become small and they grow, I went onto a big scale and became smaller and smaller. So you started editing out. So I had kind of a reverse experience.
So what did you start maybe only making based on orders? Or
orders, usually. And also most of the hats we made during lockdown was funeral hats, because it was the only place you could go to. And everybody's like, oh, shame. No, if people look amazing at funerals and
if it makes them feel better
and they look fantastic, and it's tradition, and I don't see it as something if you wear a hat to a wedding. So it's also a celebration of life. It's also an ending, and wherever there's an ending, there's a beginning. So
and I think our perception of funerals in general, I think myself included, we think of them as a moment of like mourning and loss, instead of a moment of thanking and appreciating the gift of having had that person.
Yes, and a lot of people are very afraid of it, and I've lost many people, and I've been to many funerals, and I don't think I'm so afraid of a funeral or death itself. I think also when seeing a big Xhosa family coming in, and the whole family buying beautiful hats, and the way that they mourn or what they wear is really beautiful.
Sense of pride.
It's like, I feel we should all do that when you are going through something. If we had to wear color, or how they know that you're going through loss, that they could respect you and give you the space.
Exactly.
I think that's a beautiful thing in Xhosa culture, that you can actually witness and give them the space, because people don't necessarily respect space so much. You'll be in the middle of a conversation in a coffee shop, and someone will just walk in and start talking to you. And I think people's perception and respect for space, they should take that a bit more in consideration.
Definitely.
And a big hat helps you with that.
Please make me
That's
three.
my best advice. Wear the biggest hat and people will leave you alone.
Have you had something to eat today?
I did.
Oh, yeah?
A toasty.
Yeah?
I'm a toasty snob.
I love it.
I go everywhere. Do you know Mary Pack they make the best chicken mayo toasty. I'm telling you, perfect. I like the small little thin deli toasties. And we actually make toasties on our hat blocks.
Actually, I've been to an event at your factory, and you made
on the sun hat.
It was so good.
Perfect. So that with a glass of bubbles, or maybe a hole in the wall one day, just a little toasty and a coffee.
Talking about that day when we were at the event at your factory, it always reminds me, because I always get reminders of on social media with times or photos we posted together with Nick Coates, our friend.
Yes.
And I remember now that's how I first met you for the first time.
Really?
Yeah, it was, obviously now a million years ago, but I knew your name but had never met you. And we were at the Southern Guild. I think there was some event happening.
BMW event.
It must have been, yeah.
It was. And I had a yellow raincoat on. I remember this. And I had yellow and blue Missy Baba earrings. Yes. I remember this because there's a picture of Nick and I.
Yeah.
Nick passed away 3 years ago yesterday.
Yeah.
And I don't have many images of us together.
Yeah.
Everybody does. And I was going through my phone and I was looking at this.
Yeah.
And the BMW was parked inside Southern Guild.
Yes.
And he always looked amazing. And we're like mid-conversation. I usually look like I don't have teeth or something. And I was just looking for pictures with Nick. And that's so funny. That was,
Yeah. And
amazing.
I remember So he was talking to me, and then I think you like shouted at him or whatever because you were standing, I think, outside, and we were standing by the door, and he was like, "Oh, let's go," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know," and he's like, "Oh, that's Crystal. Are you crazy? How do you not know her?" And he was like, "You guys will get along." So then that was the first time he introduced us. When I met you for the first time, I already knew because your reputation was huge already.
Really?
And I want to know how you managed to sort of like create that persona for yourself, because you know, being a milliner is not something that I think for young people is very current or trendy or cool.
Yes, that I had to create because people keeps telling me about how their grands made hats, vintage hats, and it's kind of why I wanted to eliminate that from their vocabulary, because it is an old way of making something by hand. It's an ancient technique, but we do it in a contemporary way.
Yeah.
And then hats aren't for old people.
Yeah.
Hats are for people who want to protect themselves from the sun, from all of our skincare routines, all of our laser, our amazing new faces. It is for alopecia, for cancer patients.
I just sleep and look good.
Of course, and all your sabbaticals. And also fashion, and it's in a form of expression. And it's not only something that it should be kind of boxed in as my gran used to. It is, a hat is an accessory as important as a belt and a shoe and a ring and a bracelet. It shouldn't be separated.
But do you think that we went through a phase where I think hats did sort of leave like contemporary dressing?
And I think the reason is because our lives are too fast. We don't travel on boats with all of our birds in cages and all of our hat boxes. And
people you pay 1,000 rand for extra luggage now.
Exactly. People went faster, quicker, smaller, more dynamic, and as if they couldn't think about how I'm going to put it all together. Now, I think that as after our huge global pandemic and things, I think people are really taking care out of their tracksuits, out of their pajamas, and I think we're going to go back. We're in the roaring 20s where we're expressing ourselves more. Look at me, I haven't seen you, I'm fantastic, I'm going to wear my best, I might die tomorrow. So I think people are really from head to toe considering how to celebrate more. I'm getting more and more requests of how amazing I can look at that event. How can I make it super special?
So we're going more extravagant again.
At my wedding, wear this and that and take this on honeymoon. I think people are just expanding the way that they can express themselves because they were so recluse and cooped up that we had all of these feelings and ways that we didn't live our best lives.
Did you think that at the time when you wanted to do it, you were entering into a vacant niche market, or
I knew it was niche. I thought it would be a hobby.
Okay.
Until people just started requesting more and more, and the idea of this factory and me being so in love with it, I just went there, and my gut just said go. And I mean, what is the worst that can happen?
No,
it can fail.
Exactly.
And you can close, and you can say, I'm sorry, I tried everything. It's the worst. I mean, people always say like, what can happen? I'm like, it can end, and then I'll have to just find myself doing something new.
Something else, and I think right now, when you're still young, that's the best time to make all those kind of mistakes, you know. When
you're blissfully unaware, or
completely,
or brave or stupid, whichever one.
It's the only way you're gonna know if it works or doesn't.
Exactly.
Cool. I mean, for me, think that like generally that's an example that could always be taken from your story. Being able to sort of see something that is not necessarily trendy or popular at the time and go into it because you have a passion for it and you're good at it and it works out.
Thank you. It still takes a lot of convincing for people to wear a hat. But I think the love of making something by hand is the biggest thing.
Okay.
I've loved making something from scratch. And to see something that was made the way that it's made, and the gas and the sweatband and how it's blocked and how the steam, and it's really magical. I mean, everybody says it's Willy Wonka style when they walk in there, and that is really there's a magic there that we have forgotten about because we just see things hanging in the store on a hanger. It pops out like a croc shoe. We get it in a box. We have no idea. So when something's handmade,
the craftsmanship,
with that craftsmanship, people appreciate. It's like seeing the food being prepared and you're tasting and you're like, this is unbelievable.
Amazing.
Like, I appreciate every single thing you did. It's not just the voila, smoke that comes out.
Yeah,
you can experience it. And having that sensory experience in the factory, people ask me, where do you import them from?
Yeah.
I said, from over there.
Yeah.
They're from these people.
Yeah.
And they are gobsmacked. So I think that's the big love I have of creating something out of nothing. And it's an ancient craft that's just that I can put a twist on.
Yeah.
And I can present it to people in a new way, so that it's not vintage and it's not by your gran.
No, I think for me, as someone who actually loves hats, one of the things that I've loved being able to see from you or draw from you is I still see hats as something that I want to put on when I want to feel dressy.
Yes.
But look at you today, and I mean, you're wearing your hat, and you are very dressy, actually, to be honest.
Thank
but I mean, this is an outfit you would wear every day.
My pattern parties, yes.
So this is like an everyday. I mean, I tried to match your level.
My grandfather said I always get. He looks like I got dressed in the dark. So
but exactly,
it's amazing.
Which is a good compliment, because if you can get dressed in the dark and come out like this, that's good.
I do like, and I do like also just pairing everything up with as one color.
Yeah.
So I say I'm gonna put on all my red garments.
Yeah.
And then I get a crazy silhouette.
Yeah.
So instead of just going this and this and this together, and I also like wearing a white t-shirt and a blue jean.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I like to play.
Yeah.
It's not always extravagant and crazy, but I mean, when you feel terrible, just dress well.
Yeah.
That's my best thing. If I feel down, today I'm not really sad.
Yeah.
But if I feel terrible, I dress exceptional. I put on a suit and then people are like, wow, and I feel so much better.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Even if I was out for half an hour, it's like, I did it. Oh, I did it. I feel great. Much better.
I love that.
Yeah.
So if clothes make people feel like more powerful and allows them a chance to sort of like, say a little bit of who they are without having to open their mouth.
Yeah.
What does a hat say?
Same. Definitely the same. It really does. It does enhance. It's especially about the occasion. So a lady from London who now wanted something for a wedding, and she wanted something super, super simple that's not overpowering, but she's the mother of the bride. She wants to be, her daughter is very, very minimalist.
Yeah.
And how considered it is for her to complete the picture. That's how in a more like wedding and celebrational environment.
Yeah.
A hat itself, where if someone is, working as a winemaker and he's out on the farm all the day and he's wearing an incredibly beautiful fedora out of a fur felt, and you can see how hard he's been working. That hat tells a story. You can have a beautiful wine pourer with a Panama, and that can say like, you are at a sophisticated event.
Yeah.
Or you can have a big fabric hat that rolls up and say, I am on the beach, I'm chilling. And it sets the tone where you are.
Where you say, like, it gives
and
a
for
sense
which
of place.
occasion.
Yeah.
And I just also think people should take better care of their skin in our African sun.
Yeah.
We like lather so much sunscreen on our skins, but we don't think, I need to take my hat, I'm under the African sun. I think it should be part of your skincare routine. It's not. I think it's an essential. I do feel bold sometimes, but also like my hair. But also, hats can be there when you have a terrible haircut.
Exactly.
It can save you.
Trust me.
So,
like the amount of times I spend wearing like a cap just because
to
I can't be bothered to
or a
comb
bad
out
hair
my
day.
fro.
It can actually save you.
Yeah.
It's not always something for aesthetic or for a celebration or for something that really needs to be a wow factor. It can be a very practical thing.
So you have a full life. You have a daughter.
Yes.
You run your own business.
Yes.
How does someone as young as you doing a niche sort of business, how does that get set up? How do you set up the company? How do you move? And you said now, like the transition of you going from working with Parisian milliners to owning your own company has been a huge MBA
shift
on
shift
the job.
and the brand.
Yeah. So how?
I had to be selective I had to cut out a lot of things that didn't work for the company.
Okay.
To make it smaller, more compact and better.
Yeah. Well,
I'd rather have less and better quality than have busy with a lot like I used to be.
Yeah.
That and
But talk me through from the time when you were still with Harry, where
with Harry.
you were the creative director, and then that whole transition.
And then signing to buy the company, and then we got evicted out of our building to move, and which was a blessing in disguise because we went smaller and on my terms with my rules, because the old factory had its own rules, also had an aging workforce.
So you were evicted out of the factory?
Yes, out of the building.
Okay.
So in that building, the factory was there for 70 years.
Yeah.
So for us to move, which the only people who could really help us was the Mad Max rigging crew.
Okay.
It was wild. It was level 3. Wow. Commercial movers didn't know how to move all of our machines. Some of them are a ton each. But this allowed me to redesign the factory. The space, the flow, the standard. How does it work in this factory? Which rules applies here? That was the most amazing, the clean slate. And that helped me, because in the old factory, it was very hard, because humans are habitual creatures. To teach them new things in the space that they grew up in is not something that you can easily do. So that allowed
especially as the quote-unquote outsider, because you're the youngin who's just came in and taken the reins.
So to start somewhere fresh and new really gave me the power to think, which community do I want to create? Who do I want to work with? And you say yes to everything until, you get your people that you're like, wow, now I can focus on this, where I'm now at. And I had to do that and say, cool. The other thing is, the factory starts at 7 a.m. till 4:30. We have factory hours. And that allows me to leave at 4:30. And I said, I have to leave to go spend time with my family. I have to pick up my daughter. And now, because I'm my own boss, I wanted that for me for the future. To say, today I want to spend the time with my daughter. I want to leave at 12. I want to go away for the weekend. I want to do that. And it takes a lot of blood, sweat, puke, and tears to get there.
Of course.
But once you have that, I see success as freedom. For me to do something when I want to do it. And our community is really beautiful. Our family is super, super tight. And I do think that's are amazing, because I think happy people makes them.
Of course. I mean, it's such a happy environment. I think everyone feels that when they come there. Everyone is like happy and proud of what they're doing.
They really
Which is quite surprising, because I mean, some of them have been doing this for like 30 years. So you'd think people would get jaded at some point, but no.
They love retiring and coming back the next month.
There you go, you see.
I know.
Now, tell me about some of the worst mistakes that you think you've made.
I think the grandness of this project, obviously, I thought was a mistake. It's both. It was like, I had no idea what an impact it would be on my health. I had no idea how impact it would be on me mentally. I had no idea what I really got myself into, although I learned so much from it. Mistake-wise, I would say I never understood the word cash flow. It was like a complete foreign concept. People are like, you need cash flow. I'm like, there's enough money to buy that. There's enough money. I never understood that. And it's something that I didn't come from a business school. That is something that hugely did not make sense as a creative. How does these things correlate?
If it makes you feel any better, I have a business degree, and when I started being an entrepreneur, even I didn't understand cash flow.
And I wish just someone explained that to me and taught us at school, cash flow, tax, how to change a tire.
I don't know if it helps, because I learned all of that stuff, and the minute you work for yourself, it's different.
It just doesn't. You really have to be a problem-solving magician all the time,
and the risk you run is, if you don't want to hustle and troubleshoot all the time, you run the risk of like operating small forever. Because then you'll only always function within what you can afford. And also
what you can afford. That is another thing where I'm like, I need someone who can do X or X, but I can't afford them. But Marnus Broodryk, that 99 entrepreneurship book thing, said you get what you pay for. This is something I also learned the hard way, thinking I'm going to train young people. I'm going to upskill now. And now I'm so busy upskilling, I'm not getting the support that I'm supposed to be getting. And that's a big mistake, because then I break and I don't get what I need to get. I don't get the sales. I don't get to design. And I get lost in all of this mountain of things that's running the business. So paying someone who's supposed to be doing what they're doing, that I learned the hard way. You get what you pay for.
Definitely.
And also you get what you put in, because otherwise it just, you know in your gut it's going to come back that person's not going to be happy, or this quality is not up to scratch.
Yeah.
If you compromise on quality and you know that's a mistake, don't do it. And if you feel that the client is rushing you, which I just did, and I said, yes, I can do it, and it's a mess. So if your gut says no, say no. Otherwise, it will turn into a mistake. It will. It just become a problem. And then you've got to fix that problem, and that is energy you don't have to.
Of course.
You don't have to spend on too long. It's just energy wasted. Sure. So rather say no than fix something that went wrong.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Which can be hard, I think, if you run your own business, because I think every opportunity.
And it happens a lot in the beginning.
Of course.
You don't see it coming.
Yeah. So with the move, what has changed brand-wise? Do you have a new name? Do you operate differently?
Yes.
Tell us.
The factory was called Parisian Milliners.
Yes.
Try spelling that over the phone.
Oh yeah, that's
P
true.
for Popeye, for you don't even get to S, but also people didn't know what a milliner was.
Yeah.
Also a new entity starts a new business. And we called it the Hat Factory.
Perfect.
So that people know a bag factory makes bags, a shoe factory makes shoes, and a hat factory makes hats.
Hopefully it's clear.
And then if you Google it, people know what you make.
Yeah.
Also, people can pronounce it.
Yeah.
They see it. They know that is it. And we create for many other brands.
Okay, fantastic.
In that, I also edited clients that didn't suit our production. Our prices went up because of our shipping, of what happened after lockdown. Yeah. Everything changes. We had to recost everything. And many of those businesses closed. So, and Crystal Birch as a brand, I gave more attention. And as the brand grew, it functioned more in the factory and started carrying the factory. So it was, I cannot do without the other brands, but my brand is enough there that I can play with my brand and not only look after other people's brands.
Of course,
I wanted to indulge in my own brand and play again. And that is what happened from the beginning of this year. And that was a conscious decision to put my energy into my own brand and just to play again, because I was so caught up in all the spreadsheets. I even had a spreadsheet to let me know how many spreadsheets I have. And which spreadsheet was for which spreadsheet for which spreadsheet. I was like, who am I? Just to remind me and rekindle my inner child and play and be creative.
I love when you say play, and it's a word that you use quite often. And it's one of the things that, like, when I talk to people, I always say that we sadly lose touch with our inner child as we grow up. And what we don't realize is how that basically opens up like a door for sadness and being too serious and not having a sense of humor. And I think that's...
And healing.
If
you play, you heal, you discover.
Yeah.
You also just, you just need to, like, my daughter knows when I'm sad. And then she just puts on music. And once you dance, like, to a song called Gummy Bear, you afterwards feel amazing.
It would be silly to be sad after that.
You become you are like in tears, saying, this is so weird. This is I'm a gummy bear, and before you know it, I'm so feeling amazing that.
How old is she?
She's 5.
Oh, she's got a career being a therapist.
and very, very switched on. An incredible empath. Her emotional. EQ is very high.
Beautiful.
And that's very, very amazing to see through someone's, not even naive, she's very wise to just witness that. But the dancing part, and Chloe from Isi Baba said to me, I went through a very hard time recently, and she said, you must just dance. And I was like, what? Thanks for the advice. And I'm telling you, if you dance, you shake things off and you move, and you have to feel better. We don't go clubbing anymore. So just club, just watch Fitness Marshall, do something. And I think all of that movement and endorphins just elevates, and, a lot of stuff escapes.
So one of the things I was going to say is that I want to know what you think your legacy is going to be. Or what are you striving for?
A legacy?
Well, listen, at the end of the day, anyone who's doing something at a big scale... everyone technically leaves a legacy. It's just that some people leave it on a larger scale than others. And I think that when I look at you, I always think people didn't go through a phase where they liked hats again. You made people be interested in hats again. You made it cool and interesting to have fun with hats again. And I think that's a huge shift, because it wasn't like it was a trend that was going through and then you were like, oh, I'm jumping on this. No, you were like, I like hats.
They were really, they were really no hats. I looked for hats,
Yeah.
and I would walk through every single mall store.
Yeah.
I would ask people. I even thought to do a campaign where I just walk into every store and I ask all my friends, and everybody should say, hey, where's your hats?
Yeah.
Guys, you should get hats.
Yeah.
Why don't you have hats? Guys, where's the hats?
Yeah.
And then just send like 100 of your friends, and all the stores would be like, people keep asking for hats.
Yeah, maybe we should get some.
That's a great campaign,
but
actually.
I think you should still do it.
I should still do it.
Because at the end of the day, no one has caught up with you, because now you've been doing this for 6 years, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And in that time, who else do you look at who makes hats that are nearly half as interesting as yours? No one. So I think
because we're 3 factories in South Africa, and the other 2 factories told me I'm the special one. So
well, keep dancing.
I'm the special one. But the only thing I think would be great to be known for is to reinvent the headscape of South Africa. And not just to be because everybody goes the Philip Treacy and Alberto Swanepoel and Stephen Jones, and everybody's calling milliners from other places.
Yeah.
And we don't have that culture in South Africa. And I would like to teach as well. But it's just to remind people, to reinvent the headscape, and to remind people that a hat is as normal accessory as all the other things, and that you can play. Yeah. I think I just think it makes people very happy.
Yeah, definitely.
It makes me happy.
Good. And trust me, that to be able to impart that in people is so important, especially now more than ever.
And I see people making hats, and I see people, I see brands coming up, and people asking me how to, and coming to me and I'm open to all of that. Okay. And I see people creating brands and adding hats to their, but they're importing. Okay. And I want to, I want things locally made by local hands. Yes. That's what I stand for.
I want to have some hats made, but I want them made by you.
And I want to also play with a brand, whether it's introducing a MCC and a beautiful blanket, and people all have hats, drinking champagne with an incredible blanket in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. I would love to carry on creating experiences so that it's not just a hat, it's also an experience. Like what's happening soon, the Soho House dinner, which is a dream come true to me, to have a dinner in the factory. Yeah. That is something
where is the new factory?
In Woodstock, behind Banks and Ogilvy. It's in Newmarket Street. Banks and Ogilvy. Yes, so it's right in the beginning. It's foreshore essentially.
Fantastic. Cool.
So it's still considered CBD, and we have a store there. Yeah. So, and you can walk in, you can buy, you can see how everything's made. And I don't know if another place like that exists in South Africa.
Amazing. Especially not one that's going to make you a toasty.
On a sun hat block.
Exactly.
That is very, very true.
Crystal, thank you so much.
Biggest pleasure.
Thank you, Seth, for having me. You are a ball of positive and beautiful energy. And yeah, I mean, if I can still ask you one last thing.
You can.
How do you heal from things? Because I assume all extroverted people are sensitive, because when you come
very. And also I've gone through an extreme traumatic event for the past few months, and the things I've been doing is giving myself time. Cried when I wanted to, fell apart when I wanted to, wherever. I had strangers hugging me and telling me I'll be okay, or I'm not afraid to cry in front of anybody. I'm reading a lot. I'm starting When Things Fall Apart. I think, is it When Things Fall Apart? Yes. I'm starting that this weekend. Somatic healing, women's circles. Yeah. EV expansion. Right? I went to, it's Shad Padaran. Oh, I'm so terrible with
but I know that book. Yeah, that's brilliant.
That reading, podcasts, music. Yeah. And women's circles. I went to Temple Collective with Emma Wright, and I went with EV Expansion, Carrie Townsend. Yes. I went on a shroom ceremony last year.
Beautiful. I've never done shrooms.
And that was enlightening. I've seen things last year that has happened this whole year. That only clicked later. Yeah. But I went...
And is that you intuiting it, or did you have
I had arthritis in my back, my allergies flared up, I had terrible health issues last year. And when I went solely for that. Yeah. And I could see what was wrong with me. So I went into... I choose to, if I do, and I went to, and also clearing your system, like a clean diet and leaving alcohol, taking breaks, and also just less being social to go inwards a bit. Yeah. That would be my biggest things. And long baths with Epsom salts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's my, that would be my top 10. My top 10.
I feel like there's still so much more that we could be learning from you, both on how to basically be a bad boss lady and at the same time being a soft, nurturing, self-healing sort of entity at home.
Thank you.
So I think
I must add that if you are very, very strict and rude, or you demand that, you're not going to get anything out of someone. You don't.
Yeah.
You have to.
Gentle.
You have to, or you've got to be just firm and direct.
Okay.
But being extremely rude and ugly or screaming at people will get you nowhere, because people become flustered and negative and they don't know how to react.
They're like
clamshell. That's something I will never do. Pleasure. Hello, I'm Crystal Birch, and you are watching Breaking Eggs with Seth Shezi.
Thank you for listening. Catch us next week for another episode of Breaking Eggs with Seth Shezi. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave us a review. We would love to hear from you. Until then, let's break.